Yes, sir.
Right. Go ahead. I'm ready.
Good afternoon, everyone, one and all present here. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining us in this session. Before proceeding in the webinar detail, let me first introduce our partners and guests of honors. Our media partner in today's workshop is Dare to Compete, through which you are registered. It is an online platform where you can publish your event and make it available for registration worldwide. A delivery partner is Interview Buddy. Interview Buddy gives you the platform to prepare, practice, and experience how a real life job interview is, familiarizing yourself with the interview environment beforehand in a relaxed, stress free environment, give you an edge over your peers. Our guest of honor today is Mr. Anantram Ganapati, who has 39 years of experience in the industry and academic. Chemical engineering by profession has served in senior and exclusive role at companies like IG Polymers as an plant head. Later in his career, he moved to academics and administration for Alvar Das Group of Education Institute and zonal head of ICFAI National College. He is invited to conduct management programs for corporates like Oil Industry Limited, NTPC, Lilith and Naval Dockyard, and many more. Thank you.
All right.
Now you can proceed.
Yes. Very good afternoon, dear friends. This is Anantram Ganapati, chemical engineer by
Good afternoon,
profession.
sir.
Very good afternoon. Yes. Very good afternoon. So I'm not able to see any of you because I'm sharing my screen, but that's fine. We will take up the question and answers as and when you want it. Yeah. So thanks for that wonderful introduction. So I have that 39 odd years of experience into production, marketing, project management, teaching, training, mentoring, and so on. And today I'm a freelance advisor and consultant. I work with Interview Buddy on their interviewing panel. I do content writing for them. And I do a lot of placement training, mock interviews for students. And I'm a certified life coach practitioner. Right. So let's get on with the business of the day. How you're going to make a good resume and how you're going to face your interview. And this is probably something that probably you have had many sessions on, but I'm going to present to you my perspective on it based on my experience. Even today, I spend a few hours every day interviewing students online, interviewing executives online, and I have compiled all this information based on my experience of my interviews, and I hope this is going to be of use to all of you. Just keep a notepad ready to note down some of the salient points, and feel free to ask me questions. But what I suggest is one of you who's coordinating this program, if you could, I can't see the chat box, so if you could note down the questions and we can take it up. I mean, you could interrupt me at any point in time. And we will take up the questions and answers session at the end, of course. But in between, if you really have some problems, please feel free to ask, because I don't want you leaving with a doubt. Right. So let's see. So first, you got to build that fab resume. You got to really make that great resume. So before you even start that, there is something that you need to do. And what is that? Find out about yourself. Have you done this? Self-evaluation is one of the most critical parts of preparing your resume, preparing yourself for an interview, because you should know where you stand. So let's look at what is important in your evaluation of yourself, what you are. Right. So there are abilities and there are aptitudes, and there is a difference. An ability is what you are good at doing, what you have already done, and what you continue to do, and what you do well. That is an ability. An aptitude is the potential that is locked inside you, which you can probably do, but you have not got an opportunity to do. So you have an aptitude to paint, you have an aptitude to do maths, you have an aptitude for computer programming, you have an aptitude for English, you have an aptitude for public speaking. So these are all inner strengths that we all have, but we have just not got that opportunity to expose it. So you must, try and search yourself on what your strengths and weaknesses are. Now, this is very important. Strengths are something that you're good at doing, good ability, and probably you have some good qualifications in either software or hardware tech or whatever. So there are certain strengths, and I'm sure we all have weaknesses. How many of you have actually put this down on a piece of paper? My suggestion, please put down your strengths and weaknesses on a piece of paper, stick it on your wall, and look at it every week, every month, because there are two things that you need to do: build up on your strengths and overcome your weaknesses. A weakness could be that the inability to talk on a public stage, maybe a fear of taking a leadership role, maybe a fear of giving a welcome address. That could be a weakness. And weaknesses and strengths are what you know for yourself. Please don't rely on what your parents tell you, for the simple reason that they love you so much that they are not going to find fault with you. They will always say, shabash beta, shabash beti. Acha, you sing very well. What a lovely song. It must be the worst frog croaking because you're a bathroom singer. But parents don't like to say that, and they keep encouraging you. But you need this wonderful group of friends who criticize you and support you. Not just make fun of you, who support you and say, hey, boss, I think you're singing terribly, you're speaking terribly, your English is terrible, your personality is terrible, work on this. So we need the support group of people who are going to help us along in this journey. So that is how you discover weaknesses. Like, you might think you're great in something, but somebody says, hey, boss, that's a blind spot. You don't know it, but you're actually terrible in it. Strengths are, of course, what we are. We know our strengths. We know what we can do well and keep doing those. Then, of course, there are the interests that you have in life. Now, here I would take a few minutes to explain to you one of the most common mistakes I come across in a resume. The difference between hobbies, interests, and pastimes. Please learn to distinguish these three important things. A pastime is how you pass your time. Watching TV, glancing through a film magazine, going for a walk on the beach. It's a mental relaxation, a physical relaxation. It's a pastime, what you do in your free time. The next level of a pastime is what we call as an interest, where you consciously take off a few minutes, a few hours in a day to pursue something which interests you. You may like to repair things in your house. You might be interested in watching the IPL series. You might be interested in reading a book. You might be interested in finding out what is the latest motivational talk on YouTube. Those are things which interest you, which can help you develop yourself. Then there is the thing called hobby. Now, hobbies is something which is something that you really consciously take time off, even from your studies, to pursue. Now, You are deeply passionate about it. A hobby is such a thing where you're so passionate that you say, to hell with everything else, but I'm going to do this. I mean, watching TV could be a passionate thing. It could be a hobby if you are benefiting from it. You're watching cricket, you're learning from it, you know the statistics of every game, you know who the commentators are, you know the individual biodatas of all the players, you know the teams, you know everything. So a hobby is something you know everything about. Reading can be a hobby. So, you know, but you have to be passionate about it. And a hobby is something that an interviewer will go deep into. Suppose you say cooking is my hobby or gardening is my hobby. That guy will be wanting to know what kind of cuisines you cook. What is your favorite dish? What are the ingredients you like? What are the ingredients you don't like? What have you experimented on? Huh? Who are the famous cooks in India? Who are the famous cooks abroad? What is happening in MasterChef today? That should be the depth to which you are pursuing your hobby, right? So hobbies are very dangerous things. Be very clear. I do remember an incident which I want to quote. Like one of my students had written singing as his hobby. One of the very bright students in my class, and he had this interview with Z Turner, the movie guys. And seeing his academic record and his couple of minutes of performance, they were very happy with him. But they said, hey, Ravi, you say singing is your hobby. Why don't you sing a song for us? It was on a video conference and he was taken aback. But, well, he just started singing and he sang the song. I do not know how well he sang it, but he got the job. You see, it showed his presence of mind. It showed his confidence level. And he was sure that, you know, he could reinforce the fact that singing was really a hobby because he knew the song and he could sing it well. So you see, that is what you have as a interest, pastime, hobby. Please learn to distinguish it and be very careful when you put that into your resume. Then what are the values you stand for? Honesty, integrity, being ethical, being moral. So that is something you've got to search for yourself. What you are, what is your personality, how well have you rounded it, how well you have, you know, developed it. And then, of course, work experience. As and when you get it, be very clear of what kind of experience you want in life. We'll talk more about this when you talk. You might be saying, hey, I'm just a student, I have no work ex. You all do. Let me explain that to you. Right. So let's see that you are now going to hunt for a job. So what does a recruiter look for? Very interestingly, in an interview comprises anything from 5 minutes to an hour, depending on how well it goes. And you must know what these guys are looking for. Are they looking for your CGPAs? Are they looking for your percentages? Are they looking for your academic qualification? Yes, 30% max. Job knowledge, you don't expect to know. Subject knowledge, 25-30%. What the hell are these guys looking for? They're looking for your communication skills. They're looking for how well you can handle yourself, your confidence levels, your ability to handle stress, your ability to handle time, how you could be molded into a good leader. Are you already a leader? What is your personality? What kind of attitudes do you carry? What kind of hang-ups do you carry? That is very important. 70% of your cracking a job interview is on your attitude and approach. It is not giving the right answer. It is how you give the answer. The answer can be wrong. But if you can confidently say, you're asked a question and you don't know it and you confidently say, sir, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. Could you ask me another question? Most of the time, what people do is they bluff. They think that the interviewer may not know the answer, or you just try, I'll maro and goli, and they will hang you. Don't ever lie. If you don't know the answer, confidently say, I'm sorry, sir, but this is really not something which I am familiar with. Could you please ask me another question? That's fine. That's great. That's more than enough. That just shows that you are a true gentleman. And that's what they want. A pleasing and a well-rounded personality. A confident individual. And that is all that they require to say, hey, this guy is suitable for my job. I think he's going to be a good team player. He is nice in his communication. He looks good. Looks good as in his personality is good. I think he will get on well with our team. Let's take him on. And then they may ask you a few subject questions and other things. Your marks will say most of your subject knowledge. They may ask you one or two questions, and that's it. Because once you join the company, they will ask you to do what they want you to do. Right. So let's get into a deep dive into making a resume. Right. So it starts off with a summary opening. What is your objective? Now, this is one major mistake which we come across in resumes. All students of SRM University Computer Science Department have the same summary opening, the same objective in life. I want to get into a good position with a good salary in a reputed company. You copy these summary openings from Google, you paste them, and then you show your resume to your friend. He copies it from you, and 2 or 3 others copy from both of you. And finally, half the class has the same summary opening. And all of you go for the same job interview, and all of you will get thrown out. Believe me. Believe me, this is what happens, because we have had this experience. And we really don't believe these bulk kind of things. Please be very sincere when you write your opening, your objectives, your summary of what you are. Let it be in your own words. It is very, very important. You take tips from Google, you take tips from other resumes, doesn't matter. But be very clear in what you write and make sure that it is your opening, it is your summary, and you are going to live by it. So please do not cut, copy, paste here. Very important. Of course, your qualifications are there. Academic achievements. It's good to mention a few if you've really done well. Say you're on the top 10% of your class. You're been a topper in your school, in your +2. You've been a topper in some semesters. You've got scholarships. Mention it. Those are academic achievements. Then your project and internship details. Now, this is very important. Now, this is your work experience. Please ensure that you mention details of your projects and internships. If you have not undertaken a project, if you have not undertaken an internship, please do it right now. There is no forgiving in this. You must have some project. You could have been a team member, you could have been the team leader, you could have organized a tech fest, you could have organized a seminar, a conference, like the guys who are organizing today's meeting, right? Say, hey, I was the host for this webinar. Put it in your resume. See, these are what count towards a student's experience. So please, and if you have had an internship, write about it, what you did, what the project was, and what were the end results of that project. If you have not done it, please get down to doing one straight away between your 3rd and 4th years or the end of your 2nd year, or you've finished your engineering or your MBA, whatever, and then you're not got a job, just say, hey, I'm going to work for free, but let me work for you. Work with your dad's friend, in his company, in your dad's company, somewhere, but work. Get that hands-on experience, because that is very important and an important part of your resume. So whatever internship you may do, whatever project you might do, please write it down. Yeah, are you all with me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Good. So now then comes your extracurricular activities, games, debates, elocutions, whatever. If you have been organizing of a cultural festival, you've taken part in some debate competition, you won some prizes, or in robotics, whatever, just mention it. It's good because you need to also fill up your resume with meaningful things. Then you have to be good in your communication. So whatever you write in your resume, make sure it is well drafted and well written there. Then they look at team working capabilities. Oh, I've never been in a team. When you do projects in teams, right? So you could have been a team member, you could have been a team leader. So just say, hey, there were 4 of us and we did this project. Write about it. Or you could have been the captain of your school, or you could have been the captain of your house in the school, or you could have been the captain of your football or cricket team, or you could have been the vice captain. All this is leadership. All this is leadership. People want to know whether you're able to interact with other people. That's all. Nothing more than that. Because in an organization, you got to work in a team, and they will look at any experience that you have had as a team player. Then what are any skill sets that you have in computers, computer languages, your language fluency in English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, whatever. And we already spoke about hobbies. So all this comes into your resume. So what I'm trying to tell you here is very, very important. The next few slides are very important. You spend days and nights and sleepless nights in making your resume, and a resume that gets read is read for around a minute. You might be shocked, but this is probably a higher limit of the time spent on a resume. I don't even spend that much of time when I look at resumes. If it catches my eye, I'll put it aside. If it doesn't catch my eye, it just goes into the dustbin. Bad luck if you're the best candidate for the job. It has not caught my eye. I don't want it. Simple. Just 1 minute is enough for a professional to understand whether a guy is serious about his job or not. And that is the average time, is just 1 minute, around 1 minute to see a resume. You might think it very, oh my God. Yes, it is an oh my God moment. Yes, because people don't have time to read your resumes. They want guys who are promoting themselves, marketing themselves well. So how do you sell yourself in a resume? Very important is to use the right language, forceful verbs, positive words, positive adjectives. I can, I will. Oh, I might, I think. No, I can, I will, I must. Everything must be vibrant. Everything must be positive, right? And as I said earlier, you translate all your college experiences into a job-related skill. So you just have to get those right keywords in place. We'll talk a little more about keywords later on. So your resume must be crisp, eye-catching, well-structured, and most importantly, error-free. Please don't have pickle and oil stains on it or grease stains on it or folded. No, not acceptable. It should be a crisp piece of paper in a nice, beautiful L folder, right? Always carry a few extra copies with you, but let it be on a nice, good piece of paper, well printed, well formatted, right? And well laid out. Very important, right? Error-free in terms of grammar, in terms of English, in terms of, the look, the physical look. Yeah. And any resume, I will go to the extent of repeating myself that what you write in it is what you'll have to live by. Every word that you write in your resume, you could be questioned about because it is there in your resume. It is your resume, and I'm asking you a question about gardening as your hobby in your resume. So tell me about, Mr. Suresh, can you tell me about gardening? It's your hobby. And this guy says, oh, I don't know a damn thing about gardening. You have written gardening as your hobby in your resume. I'm just asking you, and you don't know. So you see, you will have to live every word. Every word has to be lived. Others don't write it. If you say you're qualified in Python, you may be asked to write something in Python. If you say you have done C++, or if you have done something on project management, do it. If you have done a course, they will ask you questions. But every word, everything, you must have a backup for, right? So in front of you now are two CVs. One is good and one is bad. I think it's very clear why one is good and one is bad. So look at the one of David Gibbons. It's a beautiful, well-drafted resume, nicely categorized into his personal profile, where the summary is educational background, work experience, hobbies and interests. See, hobbies and interests, right? And he's given referees. We will talk about that in a while. Yeah. The other one has similar, but you see how badly it is formatted? He says he studied English and mathematics in school, biology, geography. Of course, you'll study that in school, damn it. You don't write that. And you see how poorly it is presented, the work experience. Just not done, right? So there is one question before you ask it. I will answer it for you. Many people ask, should I give references in my resume? My suggestion is avoid giving references, because I find that students give the references of their college principals or their heads of department in their resumes, and it remains there in the resume. After 1-2 years, your principal or your head of department is likely to forget you. Believe me, they are likely to forget you. How am I expected to remember that Suresh was my student? And now this company called TCS calls up the head of department and says, good afternoon, sir. Can you tell me something about Suresh? Now, you're left scratching your head. Which Suresh? Now, the head of department knows 10 Sureshes. 3 in the second year, 4 in the final year, and maybe 3 or 4 who passed out. But how do I know? So don't give references. If you are giving a reference at any point in time, on the request of an employer, please call up that reference and say, hey, look, sir, I've given your, look, ma'am, I've given your name as a reference. I'm applying for this job. You are likely to get a call. Kindly, talk well about me. Be very careful. References are dicey things. I remember on 2 occasions, my student had left the college. I've seen thousands of students go through, and then suddenly I get this call saying, do you know Kishore? I said, no. He's given your name as reference. I said, oh, which Kishore? And then that poor guy luckily spent a lot of time saying he studied in your college at so and so time, and he has given your name as reference. I don't remember this particular student. But of course, since he said he's from my college, okay, I spoke well about him and said, yeah, he's a great guy. I don't even remember him. You see, sometimes references are put into very embarrassing situations. We don't know what to do. So please think about it. Avoid references for the time being. If you are damn sure, give it. Right. So we come to another important part of your resume. Please create a LinkedIn profile. Now, this is one very important part of a student's resume, because it indicates your interest in becoming a professional tomorrow. So your LinkedIn profile should have an impactful headline with a nice, beautiful opening summary and a slogan. Please, for heaven's sake, post a high resolution picture of yourself professionally dressed, right? Professionally dressed. Yeah. Don't give one of those pictures of you and your family and then you morph it and put it. Please get spend that little extra money, or take a friend who does professional photo shoots, but get a professional picture with a nice formal dress and post that. Showcase your educational qualifications, and same thing, all your resume stuff you can put here. Then put all your skills and expertise with keywords and phrases that job descriptions and job listings have. Very, very important. This is very important to have keyword matches between your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Then, if you are part of a software development group, say you join those groups. Say I'm a part of this group, that group. It's always worthwhile. You may get a lot of learning from these LinkedIn groups, right? Get recommendations of people to recommend you for your strengths. It could be a HOD, it could be your a faculty member, it could be the principal of your college, it could be your dad's friend who's an industrialist, it could be anybody. But if you're able to get somebody to endorse you, it'll be great on your LinkedIn profile, right? And obviously, if you have recommendations of people who have directly managed you or whom you studied under, that is, of course, the best thing to do. Then all the unique work that you have done, it could be some designs, writing, podcasts, publish it, right? And keep a tab on your LinkedIn profile. Keep updating your status regularly, because that is the only way you can build up your professional image. Mention your projects, books, whatever, right? Because recruiters might just want to go into LinkedIn to find out more about who you are. And your profile should be there. And there should be something nice about you. This is beyond your resume. Suppose that guy just likes your resume. Hey, this guy must have a LinkedIn profile. Let me see what he does. Do it. Have a nice banner for your LinkedIn profile. And please, LinkedIn by default gives you a number. But please customize it and claim a unique LinkedIn URL so that you get it unique. Like you can have a look at mine. It has my name. And you click this, it goes directly to my LinkedIn page. So it's very simple. LinkedIn.com/in/your name, finished. If your name is already taken, the nearest, whichever way you can juggle around with it. But you can just do this. This is important, right? So you want to look out, search somebody, this is the best way to find somebody through their LinkedIn, right? So why am I talking of these keywords and all that? Today, people use something known as an ATS, a software called Applicant Tracking System, right? So all resumes, suppose there are 100, 200 resumes for a job. The HR guy is not going to see all of them, okay? Even he's not going to spend 1 second on them. He's going to feed it into this scanner and use a software called ATS, right? And that will do the sorting. So what does ATS actually do? The applicant tracking system. It narrows down your search process. There is no discrimination in it. Doesn't have any problem. It creates right from creating job postings, publishing it, scanning received applications, segregating them into work experience, education, skill set, gives you all that stuff. Then it searches for specific keywords where it matches qualifications, keywords, your resume. So if there's a match between the job listing, the job description, and your resume, great. Your application automatically gets shortlisted, right? And it gets selected. It gets accepted by ATS. But if it is not matching and you have gone into all kinds of stories and those keywords are missing in your resume, which are there in the job description or job listing, your resume goes into the dustbin. You may be the most qualified candidate, but bad luck. There is a software which thinks you are not. And this happens when there are bulk applications. So be very, very clear on this, because especially at the student level, the number of applications received for a job is huge. And the HR guy is just going to feed it into a system. So be very clear that you have very strong keywords. So the key thing to do here is to modify your resume job to job. The resume can be the same, but when you send it to X company, look at X company's JD, match your resume to that, put in the matching keywords and send it off. Then Y company comes, modify your resume, put it to match that company, the Y company's JD, and send it off. So you have to keep your resume dynamic. I hope you got that, right? So how do you create an ATS-friendly resume? In another few minutes, I'll take a few questions before I get on to interviewing. We're at what? Yeah, 35 minutes. Okay. So you have to use the right format, right? Always use reverse chronological order for educational experience and work experience. The file type would be specified in the job description, but if it is not, it's always good to check what is required, or a PDF is normally a good formatting way to do it. You get wonderful ATS-friendly templates on several websites. I will show them to you a little later, right? But the font must be rightly sized. Use only solid circle or solid square bullets, because ATS recognizes it, doesn't recognize the stars and tick marks and boxes. A solid circle or a solid square are what are recognized by ATS, right? Then label the sections in your resume very clearly so that it is read well by the ATS. And then telling you again and again, the keywords in the resume must match the job listing or the skill set required. So here, this is something you can note down. So these are some of the ATS-friendly resume templates. These are wonderful sites. Nova Resume is good, and many of them are free also. So you can just use them and reconstruct your resume with these. Go to these sites. You can go on to Google and find ATS-friendly resumes, and you'll find them. I've just listed out some. There are many. These are some of the ones which I thought were good. So you can note these down. A few more seconds, just have a look at them. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So there are a few questions.
Right. So, okay. Yeah. I was just going on to the question. Yeah. Any questions so far? We just get on that slide. So you sold yourself with your resume. So now they want an interview. Yes. So let's get on to the question. Yes. Tell me.
So first question is of Fatima. She's asking that, can you show us one example of the perfect CV, which you eventually showed?
You want to see it again? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's David Gibbons. See, it is well structured. It's just a single page resume, mind you. So this is a good resume, nicely highlighted. If you read the profile, it says a motivated, adaptable and responsible computing graduate seeking a position in an IT a position which will utilize the professional and technical skills developed through past work experience in this field. Methodical, customer-focused approach. Now, that customer-focused approach is probably what is there in the JD. This is a common thing used in JDs, right? Somebody with a strong drive to see things through. They could be asking for that in your job description, so he's put it across here. And then, of course, he's put on his education, qualifications, right? So this is a fairly good example of a CV. You get so many examples in on those sites that I told you. Yes, Pratima, I hope you could have a look at this. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. So can we move on to the next question?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So the next question is of Pratiksha. She's asking, sir, I like to perform sword. So should I include it in hobby or interest?
I would like to perform.
So it's sword, perform sword. Maybe sword
What is that?
fighting or
I don't understand that. Is it sword fighting?
maybe. Excuse me, Pratiksha, please, if you can turn on your mic.
Sword. I was a little baffled by that question. Sorry.
Sword,
here, sir.
talwarbaji. Talwarbaji.
Talwar. Talwar chalana.
Yeah, sir, maybe.
Wow.
So I guess that's a sports.
Yeah, it's a sport. It's a sport, and yeah, it could be a hobby. There is a very famous form in Kerala called Kalaripayattu, where it's a warrior dance. You know,
Or sir, maybe she's wanting to say fencing.
fencing. Yeah, of course, it's a hobby. If you're deep into it, of course, you should know everything about it.
Written in the chat, it's talwarbazi.
Huh? It is?
Talwarbazi.
Yes, sir. She's sticking to talwar bazi. She's saying
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
playing with
Of
sword.
course. Yeah, you know, yeah, sword fighting. Yes, of course, it's an art. You can put it as a hobby, definitely. But you need to know more about it. Who are the good ones in it? Why is it a sport? How that sport is developed in India? And what is the future of that? Is it for self-defense? They'll ask you, is it for self-defense? Is it to take part in professional competitions? What is it for? Because as a sword warrior, those days are pretty old. Of course, you could be asked questions about the samurais, who are the professional sword fighters of Japan. Oh yeah, of course you can. That can be a hobby. Sword fighting can be a hobby. Why not? As long as you're passionate about it, Pratiksha. Yeah.
So the next question is of Matthew. He's asking, sir, can resume be colored?
See, this is a difficult question to answer. I'll tell you why. If I say yes, I will see at least, I will look at a rainbow. Right. Now, at most, use one additional color to black. At most. Don't make it. See, we are not interested in colorful resumes. We are interested in the person. Right? So don't add too much of color. I see people having a lot of, you can add one blue and a light blue and or light gray and a black. That's fine. But don't add too many colors. It doesn't look professional. Okay. Matthew? Yeah.
So the next question is of Rajat. He's asking, how can we know which profile requires the kind of resume like HR operations? Like he's asking which type of profiles or which type of resume HR likes.
Something which showcases you. There's nothing like or dislike. See, the resume that they like is the one that fits their job description or the skill set requirement. So that's why I said, if you're able to create your resume for that particular job that is advertised for, or which is asking for certain skill sets, that's it. So Matthew, you must make your resume to suit the job requirement, the job description, the skill set requirement in the advertisement. That's it. And that is what HR would like. So he say, hey, this is what I asked for. Oh, hey, it matches. That's all he wants. Right. It need not be, your resume should be totally different for somebody else, for another job. So be ready to play around with your resume. You have to. Because if you're going to make one resume for all jobs, tough. It'll be very tough going. Yeah. So HR likes resumes which meet their requirement, and their requirement are job descriptions and their job listings. Okay. Yeah. Next.
So the next question is of Fatima again. She's asking like educational and work should be start to end from top to bottom or vice versa. She's asking the order, like should
order.
education
Reverse chronological. We talk of education, what you have done now to what you have done in the past. Work experience, what you're doing now to what you have done in the past. So always today is first. Reverse chronology. Yeah.
Sure, sir. So next question is of Gayatri. Any example of cover letter? Difference between resume, cover letter, and what should be? Yes, sir.
Good. So you see, cover letter is really not to be too elaborate. Your resume is elaborate enough. So in your cover letter, if you're asked to write a cover letter, it should be really crisp, maybe 2 to 3 paragraphs of 2 to 3 lines each. Good afternoon, sir. I'm pleased to enclose my resume for this particular job. And then you give your summary. What you've written, that what you are, what you've studied, and that why you think you are the right person for that job. Right? Saying, I have this, I know this job requires this, and this is what I am, this is what I've done. And I look forward to being interviewed by you. You can go through my resume, which is attached. It is going to give you more details. I look forward to your favorable response on the matter and look forward to being called up for an interview. Thank you very much. Best wishes. Our regards. Gayatri, that's it. Yeah. But nice and short. Don't make it too long. Just half a page, nicely formatted, beautifully written, and sent along with your resume. Yes.
Fine, sir. So the next question is from Naman. He's asking important sections that should definitely be in freshers, in parenthesis, IT resume.
Oh yeah. When it comes to an IT resume, you must showcase what projects you have done, what applications you have developed, what languages you know, what softwares you have worked with, what projects you have done, what internships you have done, any development that you have done, how current is your knowledge, because IT and software are continuously changing fields. So you must showcase all the things that you know. So, in your college, you probably don't have so many courses that you do. But what I suggest is that you take up these courses online. There are so many cheap courses online on Coursera and Udemy, where you could just do the course in a few months and get a certificate. It doesn't matter where the certificate is from. What matters is that you've done a course on Python or on Visual Basic or on maybe machine learning. It could be anything, but yes, doing your courses and talking about what courses you have done is very important. Yeah.
So last 2 questions left. One being, sir, can I write watching cricket in hobby?
No. Okay. Now, if you write watching cricket as a hobby, I will go very deep into why it is a hobby. I will ask you about all the teams. I will ask you about captains of teams. I'll ask you about performances of their captains, how many wins, how many losses, what is their reputation, how long have they been playing, how many centuries they've hit, how many runs they have scored, how many wickets they have taken, what are their highlights. If you have all this information, watching cricket is a hobby. Yeah, but you must know in depth. Then of course it's a hobby. There's no 2 things about it. It could be a pastime, it could be an interest, it can be a hobby. Because people are so passionate about cricket. Why not? Yeah. Next.
So the last question being, sir, photo in resume is necessary and we should use different apps to prepare resume or Word file just?
No. Photo is optional. You can just put a small one at the side if you think it's good. As I said, it should be a professional pic. Somewhere at the right top corner, you can put a picture if you need to. Not 100% required. And what is the second part of the question?
Sir, it said that should we use different apps to make the resume or
What
just a Word?
No, just a Word document. Just a Word document. Don't waste too much of time on apps. Please just stick to a Word document, and nice. Word is more than enough. to create a nice, beautiful resume and convert it to a PDF. That's all. Don't go into too much of detail into an apps and all that for your resume. It doesn't matter, but then just use a Word, because I'll tell you what happens. You use an app and then you save it in some format which is not openable by the guy who's got your resume. It becomes difficult. You can use an app, but make sure it's either a Word or a PDF document at the end of the day. That is important. Okay? Right? We have lots more to go through. Can I go ahead now?
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. So now, once the resume gets accepted, which is probably 1 in 3, if you're lucky, then you have to get ready for the interview. So, as I told you, the choice of words in your resume, at the interview, during everything is what reveals who you are. So make sure that your language that you use is good. Then, learn about keywords. Every industry, every company that you are being interviewed with has certain keywords, has certain information. And this is what you need to know before you go for the interview. Go to the company's websites, go through, that particular industry or trade magazines and journals, go through, whatever are the PR material. Then, of course, you must know the job description and the job listing clearly. So you must know what they are looking for. Many times, people are not aware of what company they're joining. So what do you know about Wipro? I see guys scratching. You go for a Wipro interview, you go for a TCS interview, and you don't know a damn thing about that company? That is totally unacceptable. Please make it clear that and spend that much of time in researching that company that you're being interviewed by. It could be the smallest firm, and you must know who the key people are, what their turnover is, what their raw materials are, what their products are, what problems they are facing, what problems their industry is facing. It could be software, it could be IT, it could be cars, it could be cellular services, it could be internet broadband services, it could be anything. But you must know of what is that company's position in that particular industry. Very, very important. Then, basic preparation for the interview. You must prepare all these, because you could be asked some of these questions, or you could ask some of these questions, right? So they may ask you, hey, what are the great projects? Now your resume doesn't have details about projects that you have done. So you must make a list of projects that you're proud of, which you have done well, right? What were your motivating experiences? It could be something when you were a child. It could be something, you saved somebody's life. Maybe you helped somebody, rescued somebody, or helped somebody get to the hospital during the pandemic. Something which motivated you, something which you are passionate about. Keep that list ready. Keep a list of all that you have contributed. You could have worked with an NGO. You could have worked in some socially responsible cause. Talk about that. These you don't have to put in your resume. If you can mention it briefly, but keep that list ready with you, right? What are those crisis situations that you faced? What particular problems have you solved, right? Anything on team management, anything on leadership, anything that a stressful experience that you overcame, all these, like handling a webinar, hosting a cultural fest, hosting a tech fest, coordinating a huge tech fest, being on the placement committee of your college. All these help. Yeah. So keep all these things ready with you. So your job description must match your KSA, your knowledge, skills, and abilities, right? So you might have heard and read enough of this. The skills are what you have, the tasks that you have learned. Knowledge is what all you know, how to perform a particular function, and abilities are what you can do, how you are going to behave in a particular situation. So certain tips on a successful interview. Obviously, if you're a smoker, make sure you don't smoke on the day of the interview or before your interview, or smell of it. So that's why wear a fresh shirt, gargle well, but kindly don't smoke. It's not good. No chewing gum. And today, one dirty habit people have is to play with a mobile. They keep their mobile in their hand for some reason. Please leave it behind. It's not important. And always make that positive professional appearance, because that first impression, 50% of the job is done. Believe me. Just being pleasant, saying hello, nice namaste, giving a pleasant smile, give that positivity, right? If you know names of people, use it, right? Don't have too many pauses when you talk. You can go through the slide that is here. I will only tell you the important points here, right? Well, sir, actually, no, sir, that not acceptable. No pauses, please. Minimize these or cut them out of your diction. You can't afford pauses, because that shows either you're bluffing or you're not confident. Only two conclusions. You're either bluffing or you're not confident. And that is you're digging your grave. So minimize or eliminate these, but actually, never. Okay? Always use positive words, right? I am, I would, I can. No, I think, but if, I feel, but no. No buts, no ifs, only positive words. And then you could be interviewed by a panel. Now, this is a disaster. Believe me, this is a disaster area, because you have 5 or 6 guys sitting in front of you. And one itself, you're already scared, and you see 5 guys on an interview panel. Make sure you connect with each one of them. Look at each one of them in turn. And if somebody asks you a question, when you're looking here, go here. This guy will ask you a question, go there. They will stress you out in a panel interview. Normally, it's not done for students nowadays. But I remember my first interview was like that. I had 6 guys all around me, and it was stressful. But I got the job. But it's tough. Because as I'm answering this question, the other question is over here. So what do? You're answering this question. This guy here asks a question, and he could be the MD of the company, not necessarily the guy in the middle. So you just say, I'll get back to you, sir. Go back here, finish your answer, go back to him, and you have to remember the question that this guy asked you. I mean, this is just to check your confidence and how you handle stress, right? But try and establish a connection with each one of them. Look at each one of them in turn, nicely smile at them. Make good eye contact. Very important is to make good eye contact. Don't look at the sky, or don't look at, like this. I see guys like this in the interviews. You have to be confident, right? Maintain good eye contact. That's very critical. Sit nicely, but sit comfortably. Don't be stiff. You're going to get a pain in the back and a pain in your neck. Sit comfortably, but sit straight. Don't slouch, right? And obviously, don't sprawl all over the chair. You have to show positivity. You have to show vibrancy, right? Your voice must be good. Correct tone, correct pitch, correctly delivered, smoothly delivered, right? It must show, josh, energy, right? And then, of course, most people don't know what to do with their hands. This is the difficult part to handle. In a much longer interview, I can actually, or in a face-to-face, I would love to demonstrate these things. But, use appropriate gestures to reinforce. I think this is what is done. Yes, it's really good, but I don't know why people are doing it. Show your facial gestures, your expressions, your movement of your hands are very important. When you're not using your hands, nicely keep them on your lap. Don't fiddle around with anything, either your shirt or your pant or your pallu or your sari. Right? Smile, look pleasant. You don't have to show your teeth, right? Because it can be misleading. They think you're either too casual sometimes, right? So this smiling approach helps you relax and shows confidence to your interviewers, right? And every chance that you get, you have to pull them back into your area of strength and tell them, I am the right guy for your job, for the job that you have. I have all the skill sets that you want. So you have to keep talking of your strengths, right? Acha, before I forget, in your resume, please don't write strengths and weaknesses. In your interview, also say, my strengths and weaknesses are, please don't. They will finish you. If you say, I'm very strong in this, they say, forget about your strengths. I want to know what you're weak in. I want to know your weakness. And they will rip you apart. Please don't talk of your strengths and weaknesses either in an interview or in your resume. If they ask, be ready with the answer. That's all. Right? And just because the guy is spending a lot of time with you doesn't mean that he's going to give you the job. Time doesn't equal quality. He must be just playing the fool. I remember I interviewed a faculty member for 1.5 hours. Right? You know why? Because I had all the time in the world that day to play around with that guy. And he was actually trying to play the fool with me. Trying to, thinking that I don't know the subject. And he was taking me for a ride, or at least he thought so. I crucified that fellow that day in the interview for, I think it was more than 1.5 hours. And I just threw him out. I never entertained him again in my college. So you see, time doesn't equal quality. Remember that. Right? And any weakness that you have, always say, okay, yeah, I am a bit of a procrastinator, but I'm working on it. I'm going to overcome my weakness. You must always convert that weakness into a strength. Always be attentive. Listen to questions carefully. Right? This attention span is very important in an interview. Right? No, don't interrupt. And if you haven't understood the question, or for some reason you haven't listened correctly, then sir, I'm sorry, sir. Would you please rephrase that question? I didn't get you. No harm in asking. Right? As long as that guy is convinced you have been paying attention. Right? Then once the interview is over, so thank you very much, sir. It's wonderful. Thank you for your time. And I'm really happy to be interviewed by you. And I look forward to hearing favorably from you for this position. So I think I'm really well suited for it. Thank you very much, sir. Have a good day. Wish them well. Do a nice namaste. The days of shaking hands is, I don't know when it's going to come back. But yeah, just do a nice namaste. Thank them. And don't swiftly do a picture mode and show your back to them. Slowly, gracefully exit, showing your front to them, and then just make a quick turn near the door and walk out. Right? And then, believe me, take every interview as an opportunity, every interview as fun. Right? And this is what you need to remember. It is your moment to shine. And you have got this 15 minutes to half an hour to 1 hour to showcase yourself. And you have to show them how you are that valuable person. Right? And if you take that time to prepare yourself, you can surely get that job. And as you all probably know, Interview Buddy conducts wonderful mock interviews. We have a huge panel of industry experts in different areas, in different domains. And we conduct mock interviews for students, executives, right across the world. So if you are interested, do contact Interview Buddy. Right. So I'm ready for my next lot of questions and answers. Any more questions? I'm sure you have plenty, but yeah.
Yes, there are plenty.
Yes, shoot.
Okay, so the first question is, sir, if we want to apply to a company, but we don't have any work experience, as they say or ask, Is there any way we could impress them with our resume?
Yeah, by talking about the projects and internships that are relevant to that particular job. That's what I said. Every project, every internship that you do, see, that is why, right from your third year, or how many of you are from the engineering stream and how many from the management stream? Or you have a mix?
So we have a mix here today.
Okay, that doesn't matter. See, if you're in the engineering stream, right from your third year, you need to know what kind of jobs your seniors are appearing for, okay? Which are the companies that are coming. So right from your third year, you start preparing. It is not that you prepare one day before the job mela in your college. No, you prepare from your third year. If you're in an MBA, right from the second semester, you start preparing, because you should know what industry wants you, and that is where you have to create that particular strengths. Your internships, your projects must be focused in those areas, na? So because I know you guys won't have work experience when you go out, and this guy will say, I want work X. So you say, hey boss, I don't have work X, but I've done this project, and it's on similar lines of what you want. So showcase that. Take it or leave it, but you sell yourself, na? Yeah.
So the next question goes, so applying faculty position, what should be considered most important in CV?
Oh, you're applying for a faculty position?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very important things are here: subject knowledge, of course, communication skills, very important, how you're able to address a group, your presence, your personality, the way you dress, the way you groom yourself, your stage presence is very important for a faculty member, and how you're able to handle a class, right? In terms of your voice, in terms of discipline, in terms of control, and maybe your, board skills, how you use a whiteboard, or how you make a presentation. Because many times for faculty interviews, we ask candidates to come prepared with a topic, or with a presentation on a particular topic. So you should be thorough on that topic. Yeah. So for a faculty member, it is very important our communication skills and stage presence. How you're able to command. See, because you're like the battalion commander, and you got to be that. You got to handle this 40, 60 students in a classroom. It's not easy. So you need that commanding presence. You need that commanding voice, right? You have to work on that. Yeah.
So the next question is, sir, should we add webinar and like 7-day course Python class and resume?
Anything, yeah, just write it now. What do you lose? If you have learned something, don't say I attended 7 webinars here. That has no sense, right? But if you have attended a webinar that some great people have spoken in, or you have learned something, or it is say a leading organizer, like say suppose CSI has conducted a webinar and it's added value to your profile, of course you must write about it, that you attended a CSI webinar, that you attended you were part of it, and you learned something from it. Why not talk about it? What do you lose? You don't lose anything. It only adds that yes, you have learned something more. And courses like Udemy, Coursera, you've done a course on Python, you've done a course on data science, you've done a course on machine learning, you've done a course on C++ or whatever, web technologies, whatever, doesn't matter. Write it. Yeah.
So there's next one-line question. Is one paper resume good?
Mm-hmm. One page, you mean one page?
Yes, sir.
One page resume is good. Oh yeah, let it be impactful. One page is good enough. Not more than 2 pages, but one page is good enough as long as it is readable. Don't use microscopic font of 8 and 9. Use a decent font size, but make it impactful. Those keywords must come in. As long as those keywords are like I showed you David Gibbons' resume, it was only 1 page, but impactful. That's it. That is enough. 1 page is good enough. But it should be impactful and well formatted. That's it. Yeah. It should be appealing, eye-catching and appealing.
So the next question is, what are the key points of resume for applying HR job?
See, any resume, whether it is HR or production or marketing or software, keywords between the job description and the keywords in your resume. Structure is just the same. There is nothing. If you're HR, you're specialized in HR in your MBA, and talk of the projects that you've done in HR, any surveys that you've done. Second, project and internship, or any courses that you've done. What do you know of, say, talent acquisition? You learn the emerging areas in HR. See, that's why if you are applying for HR job, you must know what are the emerging areas in HR. Talent management, talent acquisition, employee attrition rates, employee compensation, whatever. There are emerging areas. Just learn about the emerging areas in whatever field that you're applying for and make your resume accordingly. And take up those relevant courses. Yeah. What else?
If you want to continue, you can, sir.
Hello, sir. Can I ask a question, if I may?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, sir. I'm Yashwini, and
Yes.
I'm a second-year CSE student. So I wanted to ask, there are certain questions which are asked in the interview that are very common, like what makes you unique or tell us about yourself.
Yes.
So how can we stand out while answering those questions?
You see, you've asked the question is very simple. And believe me, this is the most difficult question where 90% of the students, why 90? I think 99% of the students trip up. Introduce yourself.
Yes, because everybody around us has done the same, almost everything same that we have. So how are we supposed to present ourselves as somebody unique?
You see, all of you are 20, 21, 22 years old, right? And you have 20 plus years of life. I am shocked that, people are not able to talk for even 10 seconds about themselves. Please, there is a very simple solution to this. Very simple. Just practice it and believe me, it works. Your introduction about who you are. Every interview starts with this. Tell me about yourself. Introduce yourself. Who is Yashwini? Who is Suresh? Let me know what Suresh can do for me. So basically, there is how you introduce yourself. And be very nice and sweet. I am so and so. I am a computer science. I'm a computer science professional. I love software. I love hardware. I love ABC, whatever you love. And then you talk about what you have done, what you have achieved, your projects, your internships, your hobbies, your areas of passion. And suppose you have done 2-3 wonderful projects. Talk about those projects. I was this team leader for this project, and we did a wonderful job. We developed this wonderful app. It is working very well. We want to commercialize it. Talk with that Josh. You must talk about yourself for at least 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. And that can sell you. An interview can stop even after 2-3 minutes and you'll get a job if your introduction is powerful. So my suggestion is write down your introduction. Structure it well. About who you are, what you want to be, what are your career goals, what are your work in terms of projects and internships. Write it all down and then rehearse it. Okay? Then rehearse it in front of a camera. Record it. Play it back. You'll know how many times you close your eyes, how many times you're looking here, there, scratching your head. Right? Perfect it. Then deliver it to a group of friends who are going to criticize you. Form this group of friends, as I told you, who are going to criticize you, who are going to help each other in a positive manner. Don't deliver it to your father or mother, because they say, oh, wonderful, Betty, how sweet, so nice, what a lovely introduction, because they don't want to hurt you. Please don't ask them to appraise you. Your worst critic, go to him or her and say, hey boss, look at me. Then that is where you get confidence. So do it that way. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Yes, sir. If you want to continue, sir, you can, sir.
What is if I want to continue?
So actually, we have a few more questions. That's why.
How many more?
So it's 2, 3.
That's not at all a problem. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So the next question is of Pratiksha. Sir, I am pursuing IMBA and I'm in 2nd year now and want to complete my MBA with finance. So do you think, sir, it's 5 years full-time integrated masters
integrated.
Yeah, sir.
So BBA plus MBA, is it?
Yes, sir. It's Masters of Business Administration.
Correct. But in the first 3 years, you get a BBA also.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So her question is, so do you think if I'll do additional courses like CMA or any other related to finance, then it will make my CV more strong?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You must, if your MBA is not good enough, believe me, in the market, you getting a CIMA and ACCA, CIMA and ACCA are 2 international qualifications. Not too expensive, I understand. It's called CIMA and ACCA. The regular CMA course and the CA course are also good, relatively tougher. But you can do a CMA, it will help you. See, today, any job requires those additional certifications and qualifications. Saying you're an MBA from SRM University is not good enough. You need some uniqueness about yourself, either in terms of your internships or projects that you do. And this was Pratiksha, right? So Pratiksha, if you are still in the 2nd year of your IMBA program, I think at the end of every year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, please work somewhere for 2 months. Online, offline, do surveys, learn the market, learn customers, learn about finance markets, and believe me, learn what customers want, what are their financial goals, what is wealth management. All these are very important. Yes, you must do an additional course if you can do it. It is wonderful, because just MBA is not good enough today. Yeah.
So the next question is of Sanchit. He says, sir, is proper physique also important for interviews?
No. You could be 40 kgs or 45 kgs. You could be 120 kgs. It does not matter. What matters is your personality, not in terms of your physique or how many 6-packs you have, or whether you have a 6-pack or whether you have a paunch. Obviously, even if you have a paunch, but you're confident and walk well and have a great personality, nobody's going to look at your paunch, right? If you're very thin, but you know how to carry yourself and you have a firm grip on who you are, it doesn't matter. No, physique is not important. Looking healthy is important. Looking healthy and being healthy is important. When I say that, I mean, don't have nicotine stained lips, don't have stains on your teeth, right? Don't go with, bleary eyes for an interview, right? Groom yourself well. That's all, nothing else. Look neat. Whether you have a beard, you don't have a beard, whether you have a mustache, you don't have a mustache, keep it well trimmed. And that is what personality is all about. It is not physique. No. Don't worry about physique. Yeah. Yes, Sanjit.
Sir?
Yeah.
So so a lot of people do prefer taking up masters or MBA after their BTech. So does it really help, or we can get a good job with only with BTech?
Good question. Okay, let me do one thing. Shall I stop this sharing?
Sure, sir, sure.
Yeah, so this is the last slide, because then I can do it on a gallery view. It becomes easier for me. Yeah, so this is Interview Buddy, and thank you very much. It was great talking to all of you, right? So now let's get back onto our... Yes. Yeah, good. Yes, Yashwani.
Hello, sir.
Hi. Yes. So, there was this question about should I do an MBA after an engineering? Is it going to help? Now, these are rather difficult questions to answer, but let me give you perspectives. A very important part of post undergrad is work experience, right? Now, if you're able to get into a good MBA college, when I say good, something which is going to give you a decent amount of money in terms of placement, or if you can say into an IIM or into an XLRI or into one of the top business schools, it's worthwhile doing your MBA straight away. But many times people like to take in a management degree after some work experience, because MBA is very application oriented, and if you get some work after your engineering, it is always good, and you will find your MBA more fruitful, more rewarding, more of value addition. You will have a better grip on case analysis and case studies, but it really doesn't matter. But I mean, both ways it is fine. But doing an MBA is important. You can do it. See, when you start working, I did mine after once I started working, and for me, it was very easy to complete my course because I could relate to many of the things of an MBA program. Though I did my engineering, I could relate well after 5 years of work experience. So it doesn't matter really. And it doesn't even matter where you do your MBA from. But immediately after degree, it does matter to some extent where you do your MBA from to get a good paying job. But if you get a good job in TCS or Infosys or Cognizant after your degree, after your engineering, take it up, get the 2-3 years of work experience, and then do an MBA. Doesn't matter. And once you start working, you will find that you like your job a lot. You're able to earn. The earning is a wonderful feeling, having your own money to spend. So sometimes you could pay for your own MBA program. You don't even have to depend on your parents. Like suppose you say you're financially constrained, right? Start working, earn money, and pay off your tuition for your MBA. You can do online MBAs. This is also a great option because you're already working. That's another option. And you can do it from some of the best institutes because they all offer online MBA programs. I mean, there are so many options. Yeah. Yes, I hope that answers partially what you wanted.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, Samrita.
So the next question is,
yes.
In resume, can I add campus ambassador experience because I have done many CA program?
campus ambassador for what? As what? What did you do as a campus ambassador? You can. See, it's a leadership role. See, a campus ambassador is a leadership role. You could have been a representative of your a team. You could have been the representative of a house. You could have been representative of a club. You could have been the campus ambassador to talk to companies who are coming for placement. Oh yeah, you can. Of course, campus ambassador is a wonderful role to showcase in a resume. Of course, it is. Yes.
So the last question is from Fatima again. So, any recommendations for HR courses?
Recommendation for HR courses. Yeah. So what I suggest, Pratima, is that you look up what are the emerging areas in HR, right? Then go to Udemy or Coursera and do the course. See, talent management, talent acquisition, multicultural approach to management, knowledge management, business process management, they're all emerging areas. So you can pick up some of these courses online. They're all available online and you can do it. But look at what are the emerging areas in HR in terms of, getting the right talent and how to retain talent, how to acquire talent, how to retain talent is what is very important for us. Yeah. I mean, does that answer your question, Pratima? I guess it does. Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So, Ashwin here.
Yes, Ashwin.
So, currently I'm pursuing MBA in marketing. So currently I'm waiting for my internship, but considering the current situations, it's been postponed till like 1 month. So what could be done in this gap? And as we all know that in this online education, the actual on-hand experience of MBA and practical knowledge, there's a big gap between these two parameters.
Yes.
So how can I fill that?
Get onto digital marketing. You can sit at home and learn digital marketing, social media marketing, how to use, Facebook, WhatsApp, Facebook ads, learn all the digital marketing tools that you can, do a course on digital marketing, right? And, work as an intern for some digital marketing firm. Approach 100 of them, at least 1 or 2 will say, okay. And Ashwin, what I suggest, tell them, hey boss, I want to work for you free of cost for 1 month.
Yeah, sir.
Doesn't matter, yeah. All that you want is one certificate, Ashwin. Don't say, oh, why should I do it free? No. See, for you, work experience is important. So just say, hey, I heard you're a leader in digital marketing. I would love to join your company. I'm good at, ad creation. I'm good at content development, content writing. Can I work with you for a couple of months? And just say, don't say you're going to work free. I would like to work with you for a couple of months. Is it possible? Apply. It doesn't matter. Just see, you have to sell yourself, push yourself into the market and say, this is what I want to do. And then that guy say, hey, but I want you to work free. You give a laugh. Sir, there's nothing free, sir, but I don't mind, sir. Give me a nice certificate. If you like my work, you can always pay me, but I don't mind doing it free for you for a couple of months. Be nice. And maybe if you do a wonderful job, even that guy will pay you. Yeah, come on. They're not, there's nobody who's so bad in the market that they will, they'll make you like a slave. But, the market, companies are scared whether this guy is going to come and screw up my system. That's all. But if you're doing a wonderful job, take a pittance, take a 10,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 bucks a month. It doesn't matter. But your experience, get that letter saying, hey, Ashwin did a fantastic job for us. Though he worked with us for 2 months, he has done so much. His output was fantastic. We would love to have him on our team next year. Get a letter like that. That is all that you need, boss. Nothing else in life. Sell yourself, okay? All the
Yeah,
best.
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, sir. Right. Sure. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Like I did job in marketing domain for
Mhm.
2 years, and
Okay.
currently I'm pursuing a MBA in HR. So, can I present marketing experience in my resume for next?
Yeah, you can. Why not? But the first question people will ask you is, why did you jump from marketing to HR? Do you have a convincing answer for that?
That's what I'm looking for.
That's tough, boss. Because once you're in marketing, normally people will, if they're not able to meet targets, they will jump into HR or finance. But so they will catch you on that. Why did you leave marketing? What were your targets? Why didn't you meet your targets? They will ask you. So you better be prepared for that part of it, Soranil.
Okay, sir. But there was not a target-based job. It was.
And then it's okay. You can always say, yes, I have 2 years of experience in marketing, and now I want to also learn HR. I already know marketing. I want to learn HR. So I can be a multitasker tomorrow. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
I hope that answers everyone.
Ah,
Yes. Thanks a lot, sir. We had a
it was
lovely
useful.
time with you. Yes,
Was it
sir. That
useful?
was very useful, sir. We
A
learned a
little rushed.
lot.
It was rushed a bit, but yeah, it's okay.
It was nice, sir. We learned a lot.
Thank
We
you.
are all freshy, sir. Thanks a lot for being with us. We had a great session.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank you,
so
sir.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir, for
you.
being with
Thank you
us.
so much, sir.
Thank you. Nice. Hope to meet all of you sometime face to face
Sure,
instead
sir.
of on
Sure.
Zoom. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.